Mick and Sam, taking you to Jungle Land. Bengals pride, it fills the air. Every week we're always there. Touchdowns, tackles, all the plays. Bengals roaring every way. Stories, news, and game recaps. Jungle Juice, we bridge those gaps. Welcome to the Jungle Juice. Mick and Sam, let's break it loose. Cincinnati, hear our call. Bengals fans, unite us all.
And to this week's edition of the Jungle Juice podcast, I'm Sam. He's Mick. Mick, how's it going? It's a little chilly out, isn't it? My goodness.
Yeah, it's a little cold out, and also this is our second week in a row, or second show in a row of an audio mishap, at least on your end here.
Well, I think it's on your end because it sounds fine on mine.
Not off to a good start, is it? I don't know. Yeah, you just came across robotic for like 2 seconds.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, you're fine now. But yes, we're back. It's cold. There's snow on the ground. It's been a while. It's been 2 weeks. It's about longer. When was the last time we did a show?
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks. Last week we didn't do a show because of Thanksgiving. You had family in town. There was traveling. There was this. There was that. And then the Thursday game kind of threw a wrench into all of it because it's not like we had time to, I feel like it would have been one of those things if the game was a Sunday, we could have probably done a show like Friday night or something. We would add a little bit more room to work with our schedules and find something that potentially would have worked. But because it was a Thursday game, it threw a wrench into everything. But hey, here we are. We're back, and we got a lot to talk about. It's wild how much things change in 2 weeks, because 2 weeks ago our show was, I remember asking you, hey, here's a new mock draft I read, because we're in mock draft season. And now our show today, we're saying, well, the
brakes.
The path is there. That'll be something we talk about today. We will also be talking about the Ravens game because there's a lot to unpack from that game, and then previewing Bengals Bills, in which is a interesting game pumping up. But remember, follow us on our social media channels or Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating too on your favorite podcasting platform. That's for more people to find our show. But first, let's hit a couple of the news headlines really quick because there was good news earlier this morning. Ken Anderson is now a finalist for the Hall of Fame senior ballot. He is one of 5 on the ballot. How
many get selected?
So he's a finalist along with L.C. Greenwood, Roger Craig, Robert Kraft, and some guy by the name of Bill Belichick. I don't think I've ever heard of that guy.
So wait, I guess Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick going in as owner and coach?
Correct. So voters can vote for 3 of the 5, and a maximum of 3 can make it. Okay. So if no one, though, in the vote total gets 80%, the top vote getter gets it. So that's what happened last year, where only one made it with Sterling Sharp. So, I mean, when you look at this, at least in my realm, Belichick's going to be tough. I mean, like, he's probably in. And then if you want to say, okay, we're going to put Robert Kraft in, for me, though, does an owner need to go into the Hall of Fame?
I wouldn't think so, but
yes. I
think the Writers Association would feel kind of dirty putting an owner in over other players, but also, I mean, how many owners have been inducted? Paul Brown, I guess Paul Brown's a Hall of Famer. That's not.
Yeah, but Paul Brown is a coach. And an innovator,
and also an owner. He was an owner pretty much.
Yeah, but I'm saying Robert Kraft has never coached. He's just doing it because he has a lot of money. I don't know.
Jerry Jones in the Hall of Fame.
I'd be surprised if Jerry Jones is in the Hall of Fame. He might be, but
I think he is. I think he got inducted. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Wow. Okay, so I mean, it happens. I don't know though. I hope he gets in. There's no other way to describe it than that. I just hope he gets it because he deserves it. And I think you're kind of right. I don't see them putting both Kraft and Belichick in the same class. I feel like one of them will go in this year, probably Bill, and then Robert Kraft goes in maybe next year, and then probably then the year after would be Brady, because I guess that would make sense to when they can do a Patriot every year. I guess, are we 3 years from Brady? I don't know. So maybe they do something like that, but I hope Ken Anderson can sneak his way in because it's well deserved.
Yeah, it's been well deserved
for 30 years.
For a little while. Yeah.
The other Bengals news: Jalen Davis was signed to the active roster. We're going to be talking about him more in a little bit because it's very well deserved. Very well deserved. And then we get to meet the name Jalen Kimber. He was signed to the practice squad for the Bengals. Mick, I know you've been watching tons of film on Jalen Kimber.
I don't know what school he went to.
Okay. Do you know what position Jalen Kimber is?
No idea. Defensive back. He sounds like a defensive back guy.
Correct.
Hey.
Where do you think he went to college?
Like UAB?
No. Penn State. Went to Penn State.
Okay.
He was I think technically a safety. Started at Georgia, might have gone to Alabama and then to Penn State. I think is what it was. He at least has Georgia.
One of these new age college players that plays at a new school every season. And
correct. He was an undrafted guy with the Titans. So at least you're thinking Zach Taylor probably has learned a little bit about him because he has Brian Callahan connection and so on there. And then has spent, though, most of the regular season on the Bills practice squad. Maybe he has a little bit of insight to bring this week.
We should just start doing that. Just sign a guy to the practice squad from the other team.
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often, because it I don't know. It just seems like it would be smart. But yes, that's some of your news headlines. Let's talk last week. Bengals against the Ravens. One of the best performances for the Bengals. And what was just a really fun night. It was a really fun game. Myself, you, your nephew, we got to watch it. And
Riley was there.
I mean, did we need to? I was trying to talk about.
He was present.
He was present. I was talking about the positives of the evening, though, and not necessarily mentioning him. But your nephew, Crew, was there, and it was one of his first Bengals experiences, and it was a positive one.
Yeah, it was. One of the best performances that I've seen them play in a while. I think I told you, probably dating back to that Bills game 2 years ago, that stretch, 49ers and Bills, is probably the best Bengals football that I'd seen. And I don't think we had anything top that up until this past Thursday, Thanksgiving night. The fact that it was Thanksgiving night and you just had a good day beforehand, potentially, hopefully. And then just to top it off with that type of performance. And now, as you've already said, we went into this game like, Joe Burrow's going to play. It's going to be good to see him out there. This team's not really going to go anywhere. And then just like that, this weekend, we're 2 games out of the division. And the other 2 teams ahead of us, the Steelers and the Ravens, have fairly difficult schedules. To end the season here. I
was going to say, let's come back to the playoffs. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves and talk about the playoffs here because I do have some notes a little bit later on as far as percentages and so on. Because like you mentioned, the schedules, Bengals, a lot more favorable down the stretch.
Yeah.
A lot more favorable down the stretch. Let's talk about the Bengals offense, though, in this game. And you mentioned the biggest thing, and that was Joe Burrow. Came back 24 of 46, 261, 2 touchdowns. My biggest thing with it is you saw Joe Burrow at times look like Joe Burrow hadn't played football in, 2.5 months or however long it was. You saw some plays like that.
Particularly in the first half.
Correct. And then he settled in. But the biggest thing that stands out for me is one of your favorite stats that I know you love to drop in for quarterbacks is turnover-worthy plays for PFF. You love that stat.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow had 0. Not 1. Yeah. Turnover-worthy play in the game. Over the last 4 games, Joe Flacco had 9.
Yeah.
Like that right there.
AC joint, Joe Flacco had 9.
Yeah, because in his first 2 games, he had 0.
Yeah.
For Flacco. Jake Browning, the stat broke. during that. It just broke. It can't count that high.
I think they should. I think PFF should turn it to from a turnover-worthy play to a Jake Browning turnover-worthy. Yeah, he needs to. They need to name the statistical category after him.
He had 5 against the Lions, I think is what it was. I think I went back and looked. I think it was 5 against the Lions, but 0 against the Broncos. So, hey, not 1 that night. No, the offense didn't do anything that night, but still. I think Burrow, though, you mentioned it. It's not like he struggled the first half. Just looked a little rusty. And then all of a sudden, he started throwing some dots in the second half.
Yeah, he was keeping the offense just consistently on schedule in that second half. And I know that there was just plenty of points in that game where you and I, just because we're accustomed to it quite a bit as being fans of this team, you were like, okay, where are they going to choke this game away? Just because, and not that we're just accustomed to seeing it from Bengals teams in general, but particularly against the Ravens, like especially the past three matchups where you've seen the Bengals offense just cook or whatever, and you watch the defense just shit the game away. And thankfully that didn't happen. The offense looked really good at times. It hung up 32 points on a Ravens defense. Joe Burrow, like you said, played fantastic. He played very good. It's
if you're saying it's his first game,
first game back from a turf toe injury, I would say that's fantastic.
On a short week in Baltimore, and not only a short week, but a short week on Thanksgiving, which I think kind of like ups it a notch, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I think he did everything you could have wanted.
Yeah, and I think that it just provided the spark that this team needed to pull off an upset victory like this. So yeah, I mean, Joe played very well in this game, like we're used to seeing him play. Did take a half for him to get to it, to kind of find a rhythm, but looked really good in that second half, and the offense as a whole looked fairly decent as well. And that's with no T. Higgins, by the way, no T. Higgins out there.
Chase Brown again, he's really coming along. We had the conversation. What about 6 weeks ago where you were kind of making the comment, and I mean, I didn't disagree with you at all, that you were thinking running back was something that the Bengals were going to have to focus on in the early in the draft next year because you just weren't seeing it from Chase Brown. I don't know if Chase Brown listened to that podcast or something because he's been different over these last 6 games. 15 for 78, average 5.2 yards per carry. 5 of the last 6 games, he is averaging at least 5 yards per carry. The only time in that stretch where he didn't was against the Bears. And I think that game you can kind of put an asterisk because Bengals were playing from behind that entire game. So run game, you're doing some different things and so on. But I think Chase Brown has been just huge for this offense.
Yeah, no, having the run game going a little bit has been huge for the offense. It took a month for it to happen. I mean, for the first month of the season, it was virtually non-existent. It wasn't even really first 6 weeks. If you're including the Packers and the Steelers or the Lions and the Packers game, really it was non-existent. You didn't see it start.
Yeah, the Packers, I think it was 4.7 yards per carry for Chase Brown. So that was the game where you started to see maybe they've started to figure something out. Yeah.
I guess to a point, but also they were playing behind in that game. It's not like Chase was running the ball that much during that game. But yeah, ever since that Thursday night Steelers game, this run game has actually come along quite nicely. Chase Brown didn't grade great in the game, but
I was
still
surprised
15
by that.
carries, 78 yards. Didn't have a whole lot of yards after contact. That probably brought the grade down a little bit. But I thought he kept the run game on schedule for pretty much the entire game. So yeah. What about receivers?
I tell you,
Jamar Chase game.
Yeah, we can talk about Chase because there's another receiver that I definitely want to mention just for his connection with Joe Burrow. It's weird how much Burrow likes this guy.
Yeah, he didn't grade particularly well, but we'll talk about him in a second.
I don't think we're talking about the same guy then.
Oh, you're not talking about Mitchell Tinsley?
No, we're talking about Tanner Hudson.
Oh, yeah, he does love himself some.
He loves. Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about it. He loves Tanner Hudson. I mean, would Joe Flacco or Jake Browning have thrown a outside, corner route to Tanner Hudson on 3rd down and 8 in the end zone? For one, what a throw by Joe Burrow there. And 2, what a catch by Tanner Hudson.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking about, remember the...
And I called that play, by the way. They ran it twice, 2 times in a row.
Remember who was in coverage, too, on that play?
No.
Maybe the best defensive player, one of the best coverage guys or defensive players in the NFL, Kyle Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what a play.
Particularly a tight end specialist, too.
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton.
I'd take Kyle Hamilton. Can we send Geno Stone back and just take Kyle Hamilton? I think it's a fair trade-off, right?
Yeah, sure.
Safety for Ravens.
Yeah. Tanner Hudson only had 1 catch for 14 yards. Touchdown was huge in that game, though. Yeah, that was a pivotal point in the game when they I think they went up 2 scores with that touchdown, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I thought that it was nice to see that connection back to it. Jamar, good game as well. 7 receptions, 14 targets, 110 yards. Usually when you're only catching 50% of your passes, you're not grading that well. But Jamar made enough plays down the stretch in that game that resulted in a pretty high grade, 77.3. So yeah.
He cooks the Ravens. I love between him and AJ Green. It's just elite Bengals receivers just cook the Ravens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What really surprised me in this game is how well the pass blocking was.
I got some stats on this. So pass blocking, you mentioned it, 91.1 pass blocking grade, which is did you look back and see when it's the highest since?
No, but I'm guessing like 2015.
Not, it was, in fact, now I didn't write the year down. I think it was 2016. We're going to take you to Thursday Night Football against the Dolphins. That was 2016, right?
That was the first ever Color Rush game.
Okay, I wrote that down, and I was like, I think that was the first ever Color Rush game, 2016, which also had a 91.1 pass blocking grade. Here's your stat for you. In the Zach Taylor era, how many times has the pass blocking grade been above 80?
7.
Twice.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you know what? I'm putting an asterisk on both of those because it was Browns week 18 in 2023 and Browns week 17 in 2019, the last game of both of those seasons. So, like, and again, like the Ravens pass rush is not good. Like that, it's not good. Like it's non-existent, really. It's down there with the Bengals as far as pass rushing grading. But listen, when you're going up against a team that struggles to rush the passer, that's what your offensive line should do. And they did it. And you don't always see that. And first color rush was in 2016, Mike. Because the White Tiger was like 2023. Yes, because the first color rush was 2016, because that's the day that the Bengals wore the all whites and didn't the Dolphins wear like all orange?
Yeah.
Okay, go
on. Just back on the offensive line here and how well they played. I'm just glad. I'm just glad that I think they finally found their combination of a starting 5 in this game, which is the starting 5 I think all of us really wanted this entire season. With Orlando Brown Jr. at the left tackle, Fairchild at left guard, Karras. You signed Dalton Reisner for a reason, right? Either Dalton Reisner or Lucas Patrick in at that right guard spot, and then Mims to round it off. I think you have found your starting 5 offensive linemen. Now, wasn't against a great pass rushing unit, but I think these are definitely the 5 best guys that you can throw out there.
No Jalen Rivers love?
Yeah, Jalen Rivers, I hope he doesn't see the field again for this team.
Yeah. Ever? Wow.
No, I'm fed up. I'd rather have Michael Jordan come back and play guard.
Oh, God.
I'd rather have Bobby Hart back on this team.
Okay. No, you I think you've taken a step too far there.
So, but yeah, it was a great game from the offensive line. Definitely helped, not allowing any sacks in this game. I guess Samaje Perine let one go on a blitzer, but
you know what? Samaje also, though, we have to give him a huge shout out on that Yoshi touchdown. If you go back and you watch it, he
Picked
makes
up a
an
huge block.
incredible block. An
Yeah.
incredible block. So it just shows you that sometimes that one block, though, freed up just enough to hit Yoshi on an unbelievable throw, too, by Burrow. What a throw.
Yeah.
Just a right over top of Roquan Smith. The safety was coming over, hit Yoshi for a touchdown. That was the dagger in the game.
Yeah. Defense?
Is this defense getting a little better? I mean, Joseph Osai, 8 pressures, 2 sacks. Miles Murphy, you saw some flashes there. Are we seeing some things here? Now, listen, Ravens, Lamar was awful. But the Bengals, I think, had at least some of a role in that.
Yeah, I think that they made pretty damn good plays, particularly Joseph Osai during the game. 85 pass rush grade. He had 8 pressures, 2 sacks, 2 QB hits, 15% pass rush win rate, which isn't particularly high. But when you're cashing in as much as you can on your pass rush wins, like Joseph Osai was, it doesn't even matter at that point. So yeah, I thought that he played incredible. Hopefully his throat's recovered from that dry turkey.
We got to come back and talk about that.
Kind of
We got to talk
concerned
about that here in
that.
a few minutes.
Pass rush grades weren't that great across the board other than Osai. You saw Miles Murphy have a few wins here and there. He still registered 5 pressures. Definitely better than what we've seen out of other edge rushers not named Trey Hendrickson, or I guess in this case, Joseph Osai this season.
I mean, other potential first-round edge rushers?
Yeah, really just Shamar. It's way better than whatever we've seen Shamar Stewart do. It's
and again, I think you
here.
could almost do better than what Shamar Stewart's done out there right now.
Yeah. Yeah, Seth Johnson had a couple pressures as well in the game. So yeah, I think the pass rush I thought I saw a little more creativity in terms of blitzing from Al Golden in this game. It seems like he's getting a better feel for finding out where to kind of surprise other offenses with the pass rush. And that's kind of to be expected a little bit with him just coming from a collegiate system at Notre Dame and trying to figure out, well, hey, this is how are you going to throw off NFL offenses? Because obviously offenses are ran much differently at the NFL level. But I think he did a pretty good job of figuring that out in this game. And against a type of quarterback, Lamar Jackson, that Bengals defenses haven't been really accustomed to playing well against for a while now.
Ever?
No, they contained Lamar in a couple of games early on. 22. They lost that Sunday night football game, but they
what was
kept
16-14 or something, wasn't it, or something like that?
Know. It was a low scoring game. 2021 did a pretty good job of keeping Lamar in check in that game as well. So you kind of just got back to that at least, which was nice to see. Other good game, DJ Turner coverage. One reception, 3 targets.
The other guy, speaking of coverage too, that we got to give a shout out to is Jalen Davis.
Yeah,
we mentioned him off the top that he's now on the active roster, and man, he deserved it. He's been playing really well. I believe, didn't he have the forced fumble on was it Flowers, the one late in the game?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it was him.
And then had a sack too, I believe, or at least a pressure.
Yeah.
Kind of in one of those.
Yeah, had a nice little nickel blitz sack. It was nice to see out of him. But yeah, who would have thought just like a few weeks ago that the saving grace of this defense would be Jalen Davis, the guy that we were all like clamoring to cut last year.
What a world we live in, right?
Yeah.
What a world we live in.
We're going to sign him to an extension this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, probably. The two things that we really like, let's talk about playoffs here in a few minutes. But I mean, the question here is is this defense getting better? And so I took some time and looked into a little bit of the stats. Over the last 3 games, they're above 60 in PFF defensive gradings, something they had only done in the season week 1 and 2. So if you take, and you just said a 61 grade as an average throughout those stretch, that would be around 18 to 20th best defense in the NFL, which
is
I
where
believe
we needed the defense to be.
Exactly. The Bengals, if this defense does this with Joe Burrow, the sky, like what we're going to talk about here in a few minutes as far as playoffs, it's not insanity to talk about because you're seeing some things. Now, at the same time, you can say, okay, have they played some maybe not as great offenses? Maybe that's the case. But I mean, the Patriots have had a really good offense all year. The Ravens, we've seen what they've done. And then you say, okay, maybe that is the case. You look ahead, Buffalo, we're going to talk about them. They've had their own issues on offense. Ravens, you just saw. Does Miami's offense scare you? No. Does Arizona's? No.
God, no.
The Browns might be starting Deshaun Watson at quarterback. Does that scare you? No. Yeah, I don't know if you saw they activated him this week.
Did they? Oh.
Yes. So, or they put him in, I think, the 21-day window for that. So, I mean, with that, though, it's not like the Bengals. I think the best offense they're going to face the rest of the season until if they get lucky enough to make the playoffs is this Sunday. Yeah. And it's not like that Buffalo offense is insert what offense are we going to say is, an elite offense right now.
Yeah, they've been inconsistent. I mean, they're still pretty darn good offense. I mean, still ranked 8th in the league in terms of PFF grade.
Yeah. Inconsistent is a really good way to describe it. But I think, is this defense getting better?
Yeah. I mean, I think that they're starting to definitely turn a corner. Now it's hard to get any worse than that 2-game stretch against the Jets and the Bills, and really that Packers game wasn't great either. Or not the Jets and the Bills, the Jets and the Bears. That Packers game wasn't great. Hell, that Steelers game on Thursday night, if they didn't make those turnovers, they would have given up 40 points in that game as well. So I mean, it was hard for them to look much worse. Now, kudos to these rookies finally developing a little bit. I think we've seen Demetrius Knight play a little bit better over the stretch. We still haven't seen Barrett Carter really play that well.
I hope nobody ever hates me as much as you hate Barrett Carter. There's your question. Would you rather have Barrett Carter or Jalen Rivers?
Barrett Carter.
Wow.
So, but you're finally seeing this defense kind of come around, and I think where you're really starting to see it come around is these edge rushers. You've seen Miles Murphy have a few good games, stretch of games, 3 games in a row, really, that he's started to at least provide something at the edge rusher position. Osai obviously had a really good game this past week, and on paper, really, this defense should get better at some point down the road when Trey Hendrickson hopefully is healthy. We're not sure when that's going to happen yet. I'm not sure what's the status on his injury. He's not playing again this week. Right?
Doubtful. He's doubtful, and he hasn't practiced. So I mean, I can't imagine that he will. At all. But yeah, you're seeing this defense start to do some things, and this is going to be the big game on Sunday to see really where they are. Really where they're at against the best offense they're going to play for the rest of the season, the best offense they've played in a couple of weeks. You are going to see them see really where this improvement is at. It's in Buffalo. It's going to be cold. It's a tough place to play. This is going to be a huge moment for this Bengals defense.
Yeah.
Playoffs. I mean, it's there. So I was playing around. The Athletic has a fun playoff, odd maker kind of thing. So where you can put in results of the games and so on. If the Bengals win out, they have an 82% chance of making the playoffs. 82%. I like those odds. Right now it's at 6%. But if they win out, it is at 82% chance. If the Ravens beat the Steelers this week, that number then goes to 87%. Now, next week is the most important game of the season, meaning against Baltimore. You lose that game and it's pretty much all done.
Yeah.
But if you win that game, then you're seeing that really go. But really what you need to do is you need to cheer, and this is going to be really hard, I know, for me to do, Mick. You're going to need to cheer for the Steelers to lose. Wow. What? Hard for me to do. Because obviously the Bengals have an opportunity to take that tiebreaker from the Ravens next week.
Yeah.
Whereas they don't have an option to take the tiebreaker easily from the Steelers because it's split 1-1 on the tiebreaker. But next week is the most important game. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves, but at least playoffs, it's not insanity.
No, and it's also kind of insanity that we're saying this now. Like, it's just crazy how things can turn on a dime like that in this league, and and it's crazy that in the past couple of years that this team has gone 9-8, has been on the outside looking into the playoffs by 1 seed essentially each time. I think they've been the 8th seed of the AFC each of the past 2 years, and the one thing that has kept them from making the playoffs, I think, in those 2 seasons is their division record. And this time around, 2025, it's like the exact opposite. Same record, you're still 4-8. The best you can go is 9-8. But what do they have? What's the record in the division? A 3-1 record in the division
you'd be 5-1 in the division if you go 9-8.
And I think that's what I think that's what the emphasis was on the offseason in terms of the roster building, which we've had I think we've definitely had our qualms with the roster building and what they've done this offseason, but they've prioritized stopping the run, which they haven't done very well at really this season. But they're starting to get a little bit better at it. And
hard to be worse, but yes.
Starting to get a little bit better at it. Or they made an emphasis of trying to match up with these other teams in the division because they realized that their division records kind of tanked their seasons the past couple of years. So it's really interesting that is kind of what's keeping this team afloat right now is that.
And here's the thing, too, with the playoffs, is if the Bengals make the playoffs, it's because they've won the division.
Yes.
And remind me, Mick, what happens if you win the division?
We get to go back to our seats for one more game.
You're hosting a playoff game. And right now, I think, the most likely 5 seed, I think, is the Chargers. You're looking at maybe a Chargers team. Feel like 2013, right? 13?
I don't want that.
Yeah, no. But listen, we're not going to have a quarterback, presumably, that's going to fumble running the ball down the field on his own, right? The Andy Dalton headfirst dive, right? Fumbling. But still, you get the chance to avenge that. But I don't think the Chargers are a team that would terrify you. Obviously in the playoffs, you're going to be playing somebody good, especially in that 4-5 game. You're going to have an opportunity to maybe do something a little special. And listen, we talked about this last year. Well, I guess we didn't 2 years ago because Jake Browning was the quarterback. But do you know who nobody wants to see in the playoffs? It's Joe Burrow. Nobody wants to see that guy walking through the door. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, absolutely not. No chance they want to see that. Because all you got to do is get in. And if you get in, this team is dangerous.
Well said.
But now, the wildest part is you mentioned 9-8 wins the division. 8-9 might too.
It might. I was about to ask, if they lose any one of these games, did you tinker around and see what the odds were of them winning?
So, if I said 82% to win out, it'd be like 41 if they lose on Sunday. So
it's still a
sorry.
chance.
Did I say 41? I said 41. Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Okay, 41. You're not. Now, if you lose next week, then it's done. So that's why next week is the most important game, because it's divisional, and you have that opportunity to snag the Ravens tiebreaker, which is the most important thing. So this game on Sunday, Bengals against the Bills, 1:00 on Fox, is important. But if you lose, it's like the path is still there because the Ravens game is so important. Joe Davis and Greg Olsen will be on the call. First time that they've ever had this duo. Have the Bengals. I like Greg Olsen a lot. Joe Davis, as a broadcaster, I don't know. Not the biggest Joe Davis guy in the world. Brad Allen is the ref. Got any good Brad Allen memories?
I feel like he's been the ref a few times.
5 times. Bengals are 3-2. Bills are 1-2. Here's a wild stat from Jay Morrison, though. This is the first time Brad Allen has done a Bills game in 4 years.
Okay.
To put things into perspective, the longest Bengal drought is Sean Smith, which is like 2 years. Kind of weird. Does it mean anything? No. So last year he did 2 games. He did the Browns Week 16 game, which was, I think, the DTR game, right?
It's my ski goggle game.
That's right. It was. Raiders 2024, another game that was fun. Steelers Week 12 in 2023. That one was not as fun. Texans 2020. Fun game. Shout out to
Brandon
that was
Allen.
Yep.
That was Brandon
Allen. Yep. And then Seahawks 2019, which they lost, but that was a fun game.
John Ross game.
Yeah, the first game of the Zach Taylor era. That was still a fun game that the Bengals lost, and we had no idea what was coming in front of us. Because I think we all thought after that Seahawks Week 1 game, hey, maybe this team isn't so bad.
I think you remember it's a Week 1 football game.
It is. But thank goodness they were bad, right?
Yeah.
Thank goodness they were bad, because then we wouldn't have had Joe Burrow. Injury report. We mentioned Trey Hendrickson did not practice. Shaka Hayward, though, is back in his 21-day window, and he was limited. Taj Brooks and T. Higgins were both limited as well. Now, with the both of them, they have to be limited until they clear concussion protocol. But I would say limited right now is at least a decent sign for both of them playing, especially T. Higgins. For the Bills, Terrell Bernard, Joey Bosa, and Josh Palmer all did not practice. Bosa is the one, let's come back to that here in a little bit, because that's the one to circle. Spencer Brown, Deion Dawkins, Dalton Kincaid, another one to circle, were all limited. So those are the injury report. Overall, though, for the Bengals, I'd say, week, whatever this is, that's not a terrible, obviously you want Trey back, but that could be a lot worse as far as an injury report.
Yeah, it could be. Really, it's Trey and a few names here and there. It's really, as long as T's back, you're good. It's probably the most healthy we've seen a Bengals roster in a while.
Yes, and it helps when you have number 9 back. Bengals offense against this Bills defense. If you look at it like PFF grade wise, this Bills defense is average to below average. But, and this is the stat that stood out to me the most, PFF does a tackling grade. The Bills have a worse tackling grade than the Bengals.
That's pretty hard to do.
Yeah, the Bengals are 5th worst, which is wild because I think the Cardinals are below them too on that list. But hey, that's at least a positive. But the Joey Bosa fact is huge. He's their primary pass rusher, and him not playing would be massive for the Bengals.
And he's been pretty damn good at it this year.
Yes.
Joey Bosa had a few years, I think, in a row where kind of looked mid, I guess is a good way to put it. He was decent in his later years with the Chargers, but, he wasn't anything like the alpha, pass rusher that he was, especially early on in his career. He's turned the dial back on the clock a little bit this season. A 90.1 pass rush grade, 41 pressures, 5 sacks. He's got a 16% win rate. So he's having a really good season. So him being out, is really huge for this Bengals offensive line. And we talked about how well the offensive line played against a not so good Ravens pass rush. Even absent of Joey Bosa, there are some decent names on this Bills pass rush that you do have to take into account. Greg Rousseau has been there for a few seasons now. He's kind of been their veteran pass rusher now. I know that Joey Bosa is older, but Greg Rousseau is the one that's been on the team longer for at least the past, I think, 4 or 5 seasons. Daquan Jones, another just good veteran nose tackle, somebody that I wanted in an offseason, I think a couple of seasons ago, still playing at a relatively high level. Shout out to Kentucky, another guy that I liked in the draft this past season, I think, or this past draft, Deion Walker. Just a mammoth of a human being.
Big old boy.
Big old boy. And I remember we all thought that he was kind of a draft bust or whatever, just given how his last season at Kentucky went. But we all were loving him before his senior year at Kentucky or his last season at Kentucky. But he's kind of returning back to form too with the 72.3 pass rush grade. You also got guys like AJ Epineza, TJ Sanders, who's a rookie out of South Carolina, Jordan Phillips at various times. So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good pass rush unit for the Bills. There's no alpha guy if Joey Bosa is not on the team, but you're going to expect Sean McDermott to constantly rotate guys in and out. They're going to have fresh bodies all throughout that pass rush. And it's not like any one of those guys on the pass rush is a complete liability.
No. And I mean, Bosa, did not practice today. If he doesn't play, my feeling feels a lot better about this game.
Yeah.
A lot better about this game. The coverage unit, Maxwell Hairston was their first round pick, another Kentucky guy, because Buffalo's got a ton of UK guys on their team.
Mm-hmm.
Has had some limited snaps of the last couple of weeks, but if you're looking at grading wise, is probably their best coverage corner. But again, last week he only had about 13 snaps, which interesting. It's overall, though, I think a secondary that the Bengals should be able to exploit, because when you look back over these last couple of weeks, it's probably been a minute since they were truly tested. I mean, you're looking last week, Pittsburgh. Okay. Tampa Bay, not before that, who, when they're healthy, yeah, but that Tampa Bay wide receiver room, I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, they've been hampered a little bit.
Decimated by injury. So it's been a while since they've truly been tested. Now, if T. Higgins is playing, it'll be a chance for this Bengals offense to really move the ball against him.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're going to be looking for in this game, especially is how these wide receivers are going to match up against a very lackluster defensive back and linebacking unit in coverage in the Buffalo Bills, and also the run game. I think that's going to be huge as well. It's not like the linebackers for this Bills team have been very good. Honestly, they've been Barrett Carter and Demetrius esque, I guess, in this in the 2025 season so far. Terrell Bernard's just not having a great season as a whole. He's a 45.8.
He didn't practice today, anyways.
And he didn't practice anyways. Maybe they could use a change of the guard there, the Terrell Bernard spot, anyways. Who else is there? I forgot who else. Matt Milano not having a great season as well. Not sure if is he on the injury report this week?
He was not on the injury report this week, no.
Okay, good. He's usually it seems like a guy that's always on the injury report, Matt Milano.
Well, he's an older guy, too. I mean, how old is Matt Milano?
He's like in his 8th, 9th season.
What is he, like 32, maybe? Well,
30.7.
31. 31 is what Wikipedia says.
So this linebacking unit hasn't been great for the Bills. Defensive backs are great, which kind of just bodes well for this Bengals defense, or for this Bengals offense, as long as they can find a way to combat the Bills' pass rush.
Flipping sides, Bengals defense against this Bills offense. Josh Allen, may have heard of him. MVP last year, completing 69% of his passes, 2,800 yards, 19 touchdowns. Does have 10 picks. But to me, the biggest thing about his game that does worry me is his ability to run the football. 11 rushing touchdowns this year. And then when you combat that with James Cook, 1,200 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns, and then that's not even mentioning, I think, my biggest concern, and that's Dalton Kincaid. The Bengals have not guarded tight ends. And Kincaid is, he was on the injury report, but he was limited. Presumably that means he will play. That is a concern for me.
Yeah. As like you said, as any tight end that the Bengals face. Buffalo's got a pretty decent receiving unit as a whole. It's kind of like their pass rush unit in a way. There's not really an alpha receiver on this team, but just a bunch of very solid guys, led by Khalil Shakir. And, he's been one of the, better slot receivers in the league over the course of the past few years. He's got a 72.3 receiving grade, 55 receptions, 569 yards, 3 touchdowns on the season. Keon Coleman's had a decent season in season number 2. You got Josh Palmer as well, a guy that I barring no T. Higgins signing, was a guy that I was kind of looking at to kind of just fill the void of T. Higgins for a season or two. In the case that didn't happen, thank God it didn't. But yeah, you just have a bunch of solid names in this receiving core for the Bills.
Keon Coleman, you were anti Keon Coleman, right, in the draft?
Yeah, I thought he was a little slow. I thought he was too slow for the NFL, and he's played okay. It's not like he's been an elite wide receiver or anything.
And hasn't he had some locker room stuff too? Wasn't he? Didn't he have late?
I have no idea on that.
Practice or something like that. Look who finally decides to show up. Talking about Josh Allen, his favorite quarterback in the NFL. The offensive line for the Bills, if you're looking grading wise, it is one of the better offensive line grading wise as a whole. But when you get into the nitty gritty, I think it's kind of like the same thing as you were just talking about, where they don't necessarily have an elite offensive lineman, but they don't necessarily have, a Paul Dehner would always drop a donkey, like no donkeys. They don't really have a donkey on there either, do they?
No, I mean, I guess the closest thing to that would be Deion Dawkins, who has been a very good, consistent left tackle in the NFL for about a decade at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's just a bunch of solid guys. They've got a solid starting five. So it's going to be interesting to see, is this pass rush going to be able to follow up the performance they had against the Ravens last week, when the Ravens haven't been as good in the trenches as this Bills team has been.
There are opportunities against this team. Okay. Anything else as far as the breakdown of this game, or you want to drop into some picks here?
Let's go to some picks.
Okay. Bengals against the Bills Sunday, 1:00. Remember, this game was supposed to be, 4:25. Which now
any snow happening this week?
It's going to be cold. I know that. I think 18 degrees at kickoff is what they're looking at. I saw some snow maybe earlier in the week was in the forecast, but I honestly hadn't checked recently. Are you looking up to see?
No, I was, but then I thought I got an answer from you. So then
I thought. Well, I mean, I can Google it here too while we're talking about it. Buffalo forecast Sunday. It'll be 29 degrees with a 40% chance of snow.
So we could get a snow day.
We could get a snow game, which disappoints me that the Bengals aren't wearing the white helmets. Because wasn't that what the Bills were complaining about during the snow game, that they couldn't see the Bengals because they were hiding in the white snow or something? Wasn't that something?
Yeah, with the orange helmets.
Yes. So that's why they should have worn the white helmets with it too. But here is an interesting uniform stat that Jay Morrison had. The Bengals are wearing the same uniform as last week. Since they got the new uniforms, they've never done that.
No repeats.
Interesting.
They play into a little bit of a superstition here.
They might not be superstitious, but they're definitely a little stitious. A little stitious. Payne says 24-21 Bengals. Frank says 28-21 Bengals. Mick, what do you say you?
I'm riding the high. 27-24 Bengals. I think it's going to be a shootout in the snow. I think it's going to be a really fun game to watch. I think that this team's riding the high of Joe Burrow. I think they're going to continue to ride the high of Joe Burrow. So yeah, we're going to go with the win. 27-24.
I'm with you. Bengals 31-28. Evan McPherson, game-winning 47-yard field goal with 7 seconds left. Money Mac puts it through 47 yards.
I'm going to say go ahead Noah Fant touchdown with about a minute left.
Oh.
And the defense makes a stand.
Wow. I'd like to know what your odds could be if you could bet that. Noah Fant. I am a little disappointed. No Jermaine Burton late touchdown? He's not on the injury report.
Yeah, he is.
I didn't see him on the injury report when I was making my notes. Or did I just refuse?
Full participant practice with an ankle.
See, I don't write down full participants just because I don't think there's any real reason to do that. Tyler says 38-35 Bengals, going to be a shootout. The Bengals can't defend a vertical tight end or a quarterback with legs. Hard to disagree with that, but this is going to be a fun game.
They defended a quarterback with legs last week.
They did. Do you think Fox is regretting flexing this game out?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they are. Now that's Well, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, because you still get Packers Bears flexing that 425 spot, and that's a battle for the AFC North right now, or the NFC North crown. Right now, it's really those two are really the front runners for that. Also, it's Packers Bears, huge rivalry game, so they probably aren't regretting it. But if they flex like, I don't know, say like Chargers, Texans, or some shit like that, yeah, they would have regretted it.
Here's what I'm interested in. We are, I think, Monday or Tuesday, I believe, is the deadline. Does Bengals Dolphins get flexed out?
I think it's all going to depend on what happens this week. Because surprisingly enough, that the Bengals, not just the Bengals are still in the hunt here, the Dolphins are also still technically in the hunt to get a wild card spot in the playoffs here. So I think if both teams win this week, we'll get Sunday Night Football in Miami.
See, part of me wants to get flexed out because I that night have a high school basketball game, and it's a night game almost assuredly, and I don't I've done it before, because I would, I do my do not disturb, don't tell me what the score is, all of that. I don't want to know, going through all of that, but I much prefer just to be able to watch the game and not have to stress about what's happening and then go back to my house and watch it at 11 o'clock at night. Because the worst part about doing that too is that by the time I'm done with the game, no one's awake to talk about it. And that bugs me. Because no matter what happens, we got to talk about it. But looking forward to the game on Sunday. If you're going to Buffalo, have fun. It'd be a fun trip. I know we had discussed it, but timing-wise, just it wasn't going to work out with my time at work. This is just not a good week to do it. That, and I know, Mick, you would have been miserable if it would be 20 degrees and snowing.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been. It would have been fun, but it wouldn't have been too fun.
I believe they're heading back to Buffalo.
We also thought the team was not going to be in the playoff hunt,
and we didn't think Joe Burrow was going to be playing.
Yeah, we also did not think Joe Burrow would be back.
Honestly, kind of when we made that decision, I think it was before Joe Flacco too, wasn't it?
It was.
So yeah, before we had any hope whatsoever, but that doesn't mean that we can't do that. Tyler says, remind them of the time Andy sent them to the playoffs and smash a table for me. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That was a great moment. Bengals and Bills have a great connection over the years. DeMar Hamlin, that moment as well. So they'll always be connected through that. But enjoy the game if you're headed there. And if not, we'll be back next week to maybe be talking about one of the biggest regular season home games for the Bengals in a while.
Well, since at least the Broncos game last year.
Yeah. And even then,
the writing was on the wall the entire time last year.
That it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, because the Chiefs were just going to rest everybody.
This one, though, the Bengals kind of control their own destiny. Whereas in that one, they didn't.
Yeah.
This one, though.
How many times do you hear that a 4-8 team can control their own destiny? Or even a 4-9 team.
Now that's where they'll need a little help. They'll need a little bit more help with that.
Okay, 5-8 team can control their own destiny.
I believe, right?
Yeah.
Fun place to be. We'll see you next week. Remember to follow us on our social media channels, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Also on your favorite podcasting platform. Make sure to give us a 5-star rating that way. Any parting thoughts?
No. If you're going to the game in Buffalo, have a safe trip. It's actually fairly drivable. People in the Cincinnati area, if you're driving over, it is. Yeah, have a safe travel, safe drive, or safe flight. Don't break any limbs on tables, but we still do encourage jumping on tables. Just do it. Do it without any repercussions. But have
a wing for us.
Yeah. Have some buffalo wings. Never tried that. That's the. If we went, that was the one thing I really wanted to do is just try some vintage wing spot or whatever. I don't even know what it would be, but
yeah, there's a couple of places up there that we'd have been able to figure out. So I look forward to that. We'll be in Buffalo at some point. We'll see you next week.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe next ye
If
Maybe
we
in
win the division and Buffalo wins the division,
maybe in the playoffs.
maybe in the playoffs.
You never know. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Hoo day. Thanks for watching.